Hi, Leor. This video is for you. Just submit the answers to the questions and go ahead and you'll get your credit for today. Hope you're feeling okay. So I didn't share this Mishnah with everyone until this point, but I want you to know that read the beginning of this Mishnah. And for question number one, what is the Mishnah trying to answer the question? What question is the Mishnah trying to answer? And what is the very first answer that the Mishnah gives as an answer to the question? And that's question number two. What's the very first answer? So the very first, right? So the question that's being asked, obviously, is, hey, I have to eat maror on Passover night. I know I have to do that, but what is the right vegetable to use for that? And the very first answer that's given is this thing called chazeret, the very item that's used by Reish Lakish to talk about the issue of mitzvot and intent, right? So, just so you know, at a Passover Seder, right, we have 2 points of that Seder. Our one point is when we dip something that's green into salt water, and we say the blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri adama. The second dipping that happens is when we dip our spicy stuff into like a charoset, something, and we say the blessing al achilat maror, for eating maror. Two dippings, and the question that Reish Lakish talks about is, well, what happens if I only have one vegetable for the both process, right? So Reish Lakish says the very fact that I have to go back after I eat it time number one, that I go back and eat that spicy lettuce again, that proves something. Question number three is, what does it prove? Question number four is, why does it prove that? And of course, the Talmud comes back and says, no, 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 no. I'll tell you the reason why there is the dipping, the second dipping. The second dipping is because of what? Question number six. And that means that actually that mitzvot do not require intention, and when I eat that less spicy lettuce the first time, it counts for fulfilling two obligations. One is the obligation of dipping the first time. Second is the obligation of dipping a second time. Okay, so that's what we know. So I want to explain to you how all of these questions actually help us understand our Seder plate today. But first, I want to take you. So, first, we're talking about, if you notice that often on many Seder plates, you have a piece of lettuce and you have a piece of green parsley, which we have a name for. We call that karpas, or green stuff. Okay. So, the question is why, and I hope this will help explain why. Because at what point, so in the Talmud, after Reish Lakish does his thing and talking about mitzvot needing intention or not, we now have a new question. What happens if I only have the lettuce? What do I do? And so, first of all, question number 7 is, so we know that lettuce can do two things. That lettuce, because it's spicy lettuce, I can use it for borei pri adama, for dipping into salt water. I can dip the lettuce into salt water. I also know I can use it for eating maror, for fulfilling the mitzvah of maror. Two things that one piece of veggie can do. So what do I do? How do I kind of go about doing this if all I have is this one piece of lettuce? So give me an option. Question number 7. So we have an opinion by Rav Huna, and Rav Huna says, here's how you do it. Your first dip, you pick up that lettuce, and you make a bracha, saying the fruit of the ground, and you take a bite. Later on in the meal, you do a second dipping with that same piece of whatever's left of that lettuce, but then you make the blessing for eating maror, and then you've done it. And that's Rav Huna's idea. But there's a problem with this. Any problem that you can see with this? Question number 8. Because here's the problem that Rav Chisda comes up with. He says, how could you go ahead and recite another blessing over this same stuff when you've actually already eaten it. You've already eaten it. You shouldn't say another blessing over that. Now, we had a lot of debates in class of whether that was of how you could respond and reject Rav Chisda. But for some reason, he's not rejected. But what might be a way that you could actually go ahead? That's question number 9. How you could reject Rav Chisda's idea. Okay, but again, he's not rejected, and that's why we have a solution for Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda gives this solution. And what's the solution? Read the solution and summarize it for question number 10. Okay, so then we get this interesting statement. In Syria, they acted according with the opinion of Rav Huna, who says this. But Rav Sheshet acted according to the opinion of Rav Chisda. So we have two people acting in two ways. But then Rav Aha, son of Rava, would seek other vegetables for Passover, so he would not need to take a side in the dispute. So what would Rav Aha actually do? Rav Aha would have the lettuce, sure, but what would he also have on his plate? Question number 11. And now we get to understand why there's parsley on the Seder plate. Why is it? All thanks to who? Question number 12. And why? Question number 13. And so we also a lot of Seder plates also have charoset. Also have another kind of maror like horseradish, and so we actually see that someone even went further. Our Seder plates today go even further than Rav Chisda. So Rav Acha, right? Rav Acha said, "I'm going to find another vegetable," but really, what Rav Acha does is he says, "That spicy lettuce, I'm going to actually separate into spicy and into lettuce. I'm going to have one thing on the plate that talks about spice." And one thing on the Seder plate that's lettuce. That's kind of a lettucey, greeny thing. But so on our Seder plate today, we have all three of these things. One, to remember that original thing that was once spicy. Then we've got the kind of the separation, 1 and 2. So if you were in question number 14 is, please explain why we have parsley on the Seder plate. Please explain why we have horseradish on the Seder plate. Please explain question number 16 is why we have a piece of lettuce that isn't spicy but was once spicy in ancient times on the Seder plate. And that's it for the day.